Hello everybody, this is Rob with some more Lightroom stuff. How are you? Hope you're okay. So I was talking to someone over the last few days and they are new to Lightroom, and maybe when you look at Lightroom, it's a powerful tool, it's great at organising your photos, but there are a few things that you need to remember and you need to be aware of when using Lightroom. Now Lightroom is it's kind of like a filing system. If you imagine an office with a filing cabinet and you open up a top drawer, you have the tabs of letters to organise in alphabetical order. Say the members of staff, for example. So you have the tabs at the top, A to Z. While behind A, you'll have all the people beginning, their names beginning with A. So if you take out them files beginning with A, and you put them somewhere, say, behind F, and then you shut the drawer and forget about it. Next time you come to the drawer and you look for the people beginning with A, you're not going to be able to find it. So Lightroom is similar. Once you put your photos on your computer and you use Lightroom, you need to do everything through Lightroom. If you start moving your files using Windows or your Mac using the Finder or the thing in Windows, I'm not sure what you call it, but if you go into the pictures menu, for example, where you bring all your folders and you start moving your folders around without using Lightroom, when you go into Lightroom the next time, you'll have lots of question marks and you'll have lots of things that you won't know what it is for, because you've disorganized your filing cabinet, for example. And so then Lightroom gets confused. So you just need to bear this in mind when using Lightroom. And because we had this conversation, I'm going to just bring in some photos and I'm going to show or make a video how I do it. Maybe it's not the right way or the best way, but this is how I do it, and I found it works good enough for me. I'm not a professional or anything. I'm not a photographer, but I enjoy using Lightroom and taking photos, like a lot of other people do. So let's open up Lightroom. I'm using Lightroom 5, as you can see. And I'm just going to go straight into import, which is at the bottom left hand corner. If your computer's set up to import automatically when you plug in a camera or you insert a memory card, I don't advise this, just because you're not in control to an extent. It's just how I do it, I just prefer to do everything myself. So I'm going to click on import, and nothing will happen now until you tell Lightroom what you want to happen. So on the left hand side, this is where you're importing from. So at the top, I have my GoPro plugged in. That's why at the top you can see the Hero 4 Black. And then the Macintosh HD, that's my hard drive for this iMac. And no name, that is a memory card that's also plugged into my iMac. Now what I'm going to do today is I have already brought my photos that I'm going to use into my iMac. I could go through the Hero 4 Black, as that's what I used, but just for simplicity and to make sure it works, or hopefully it will work, I'm just going to go through the iMac hard drive. So if I go through, I'm going to locate my pictures now. Nothing's going to import yet until I tell it to. So let's click on the HD, the small arrow, to open up the options. I'm going to click on users, click on my name, and click on pictures even. And I'm just going to navigate to where I know they are. Obviously, when you do it with a memory card or something, it's very simple. It's a bit simpler than this. So I'm going to click on here, and this is all the photos I took with my GoPro last night on a time lapse. So now in the middle of Lightroom now, we have copy, move, and add. Copy is DNG. Well, these are JPEGs anyway, so I'm going to leave it on copy. And then on the right hand side, we can tell Lightroom what we want to do with the imports. So up here, we can say or check on don't import suspected duplicates. Now this means that if you've taken out your memory card and you've left some photos on there, for example, and then you've taken some more photos and then reinserted the memory card, you can, with this checked on, it's not going to import everything twice. So this is good. And then the main other important thing is a destination. So I'm going to click on the folder that I've already got, which is labeled time-lapse folder. And I'm going to just click on import. So now this should bring in all the photos that I took last night on a time-lapse. I just put my GoPro actually on my window. I haven't actually seen these photos yet. I don't know what they're going to be like. Hopefully they'll be alright, but just for this exercise, I may go through the time-lapse sequence, I may not. I just want to show you the workflow I take. So Lightroom is bringing in the photos, and we can go through and check some of the photos, see what they're like. I'm sure they'll be noisy because it was very late at night. And there you go, it says it's completed. So now we have the photos that are on my desktop or on my computer, and Lightroom kind of copies them as like a virtual copy. All these photos are JPEGs, but the edits that we do to them aren't being applied to the original photos. They're just being applied to like a virtual copy. So you need to understand some basic things about Lightroom before we start playing. So let's just go on to this first one here, and I'm going to go into the develop module and we can see what this photo looks like. And there we go, this is the start of the time lapse. As you can see, this is my back garden and a few other things. Don't worry too much about the content of the photo. It was very windy, but we can do some small edits just to see what we get. But remember, this is a JPEG, so the edits aren't going to be that spectacular. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into lens correction and add the GoPro profile, which will straighten the horizon. So that's better. And then we can go into detail and try and get rid of some of this noise. So I'm going to go into luminance and just bring this up. And that's smoothed out the sky a little bit. Let's go into the color one as well. Just bring that up a little bit. And so we can play around with the edits all day long, but for this exercise I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, that will do. Alright, so let's add a touch of sharpening, which will bring probably some noise back, but let's just bring that up. And then we're going to go to the basic and apply some basic edits. So I'm going to leave the exposure where it is for now, come back on the highlights. Actually, I'll leave them roughly. There we go. I'll open up the shadows a bit. And in fact, I'll bring them down because I don't want the focus to be on my garden. I want it to be on the sky. Let's bring the whites up. And the blacks, don't want to bring the blacks down too much. Clarity I'm going to bring up a bit. And the vibrance I'm going to bring up just a smidge. Just a bit. And I'm going to leave it like that for now. Let's just give it a small vignette just for the sake of it. I'm not worried about what this actual edit looks like too much. I'm just going to show you sort of what I do. So now we've applied this to one photo, I want to add it the effects to all the photos. So let's just go to the last one. Let's shift click on the last one and we can sync. So let's click on synchronize and that will add the effects to every photo. Okay, so we can go through, and actually in my Lightroom I have it set up so that I can add a time lapse through Lightroom. So we could go in and have a quick look. So I'm going to click on slideshow, and on the left hand side you'll see that I've got this time-lapse thing set up, and I will put a link in the description for the video that I've done on how to get this. So if you want to do that, you can go and take a look. So I'm just going to export this with the time-lapse effect. So I'm going to click on export video, and first thing it will crop the image, it will crop the video. I'm going to do the 720 just for speed, and I'm going to just call this test time lapse for now, and I'm going to make sure it's going onto my desktop and click on export. Now that's going to do that now, and we'll see how quick it's going to take. Looks like it's going to take a while, so I'm going to pause the video and we will come back when it's done. Okay, welcome back. So I've done the import and I've put the time lapse on my desktop, excuse me. So let's have a look. And as I said to you, I've done it only in 720 just for this exercise. So let's just have a look and see what we've got. And there we go. We have a small time lapse of the moon last night, and obviously taken with a GoPro, so because it's photos, the image quality isn't spectacular, but you know, it looks alright. So I've done everything so far all in time-lapse, and I've exported it through Lightroom using the slideshow module with these special imported files, so I can do the time-lapse and put it on my desktop. So if we wanted to take a single frame of the time-lapse and we wanted to put that on our desktop, or we wanted to move it somewhere so we can share it, let's have a look at these options. So if I go back into the library module, over here on the left hand side, we have the published services. Now I've set this up just so I can bring in some photos into here, and it will then put them in a folder on my desktop. Now that's not the only way of doing it. You can go into File and export here, and you can put it, you know, onto your desktop this way. But I've set it up, and so let's have a look at this. So under the published services, you will have your hard drive, and I've called this Lightroom Photos. Now you'll see more about that in a second, but let's just go into here and see what photos I've got. And these photos are in, let's just press G for the grid. Now these photos are they're on my desktop, and these are the ones I've published before. So if we want to add more files or more photos to this to put on the desktop, what do we do? Well, let's have a look at the time lapse we've just done. So I'm going to go into the first one, and let's imagine that this is a raw image taken with a digital SLR. We can put this onto our desktop, converted as a JPEG. Now, when this is set up, under here, look, on the left hand side, you've got the Behance and the Facebook stuff here. I haven't set any of this up, but I've set up the hard drive, so that's why it doesn't say setup on the side. But once you go into the setup, you can give it options. Let's just go into this, and let's just bring this down a bit so we can show you more what it is. And if you go into the hard drive, you can set this up, as we said, directly, so it puts photos on your desktop. So this is the options you need to go through. Published services, this is just a description, and I've just called it Lightroom Photos to Desktop. This that you don't need to do really. This is the main important one, the export location. So I have checked on put in subfolder, and the subfolder I've called Lightroom Photos. So here, look, we can see the directory that it's going to take. It's going to go into the users folder, then to my name, then to desktop. And a folder is going to be called Lightroom Photos, and it gives you a warning. This cannot be changed once this is created, and it creates a connection from Lightroom to your desktop. An alternative way, you can go into choose here, and you can go into your C drive, if you're using an external drive, make sure you're on your desktop, and then you click on new folder, call your folder something like Lightroom Photos, which is again here, and then your link is established. You can go into the down here and rename your files. This is how it names them. I haven't done anything on here. Your video, the options are here. And this is another important section, your file settings. Image format here, you can change this, and I've clicked on JPEG. So once it's done and we go to the desktop, all the images that were raw are converted to JPEG. So you can click on some more options down here, the resizing, etc. I've clicked on sharpen for screen, and I've left the rest blank. I think I might have clicked on remove location info, which I have there, look. And then you just click on save. That then creates a connection between Lightroom and your desktop. So let's just show you what I mean. So here we have a single image. I'm in library and I'm in the grid. If you can't see the grid, just press G, and I'm going to drag this image from my library into Lightroom Photos, and a little plus icon appears. Let go of the mouse, and then if we go into this, as you can see, it says new photos to publish. Now I'm going to click on publish at the bottom, and Lightroom's going to do its thing. It's just updating. There you go, it says it's done. And now we have the photo here along with the other photos I already had. So we just go now into my desktop, and I've got a folder here called Lightroom Photos. Double click on this to open it, and if we just bring this out here, there we go. This has the photo from Lightroom. Now obviously this is my GoPro image, a still image, so the quality is not very good, and it was at night. So this is how you get the link, or a way of getting a link from Lightroom to your desktop. For me, this way works brilliant. I can just click and drag lots and lots of photos, and I've found that it's the quickest way, and this is the way I do it. So that's it. I just wanted to show different ways of doing that. Obviously, I used in this whole video, I used JPEG images for the time-lapse. The images aren't the best, but it worked all right for this exercise. I just wanted to show you a few ways of using Lightroom. So just remember that if you're moving files on your computer, when you're going back into Lightroom, you may get some question marks, and I may do a video on that as well, how to get around that. But for now, please like and subscribe the video if you like it. If you don't, put a thumbs down. But it's just for the information for beginners starting out in Lightroom. I hope you enjoyed it. That's it now for me. So until next time, take care guys. Thanks for watching.